So as we're walking up, there's a line clear down Hollywood Boulevard of people lined up to get into the knitting factory. So we walk up to the place, and I'm thinking, I say to my buddy, like, I wonder who's playing the big room tonight. Maybe after my show, we could sneak in and see that show.
Yeah.
Well, it turns out all those people were there to see my show.
Wow.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Conversation of Art podcast. Thanks so much for joining us. It's great to have you. I think you're going to enjoy this week's episode a lot. It is with Derek Webb. Derek is an artist, a very accomplished musician with a ton of great music, which I highly encourage you to check out. And he is also a co-founder of Noise Trade. If you're not familiar with Noise Trade is a site where you can jump on and you can look for free music. And it's all legal and all happy, and the artist put it there for you to download for free and to check it out. And I highly suggest doing so. And if you're an artist, I highly suggest thinking about getting your music up on Noise Trade. It's a great place to discover new fans and to connect with new people. Derek and I talk about that, the benefits of Noise Trade, as well as just where the industry's going in general and some exciting new things he sees on the horizon. One other thing you'll notice if you're a person who has typically watched the podcast on YouTube is that we do not have video for this episode, and that's going to become a more standard thing unless we hear differently from people. The reality is that it takes a lot of time to get everything the way we like it, both audio and video, and I decided to just buckle down and for the moment concentrate on the audio and make sure that is a really great listening experience for you. So if you guys have any feedback at all, both either on the video or not on the video, that would be awesome. If not, we're going to continue forging ahead as an audio podcast for the time being, and maybe if some more people get involved as time goes on, that could change again. Anyways, without further ado, I'd like to jump to the interview with Derek Webb.
Yeah, so I've spent the last 22 years as a professional musician, a blue-collar musician. Started in a Texas band in the early 90s that I co-founded and spent 10 years in that band, have spent 10 plus years as a solo artist, always very middle class in terms of the art, in terms of the reach, which is really, which is my favorite thing about my music career is that it's lasted so long because there were never big spikes of success anywhere. It's just been a very slow, kind of small tribe focused thing, and which I've really enjoyed. And about maybe let's see, about 8 or 9 years ago, I'm kind of backed into the idea that was the kernel that started Noise Trade. I had put my third record out, and my tribe had bought it. I mean, at that point I had like 25 or 30,000 people who would just buy the records. If we spent $10 on marketing or $100,000 on marketing,
right,
those people would buy it and nobody else. And so my tribe had bought it. We were 6 months into the record cycle. The sales had kind of hit a trickle. There was no more marketing money to spend. So we were kind of at that point where about 6 months in, where the label comes to me and says, the kind of main retail cycle of this record is over. We need to start talking about the next record. Let's start kind of moving on. And just in that one case, I had a little more ambition in terms of people hearing this record. I thought, I think there are a lot of people who our marketing money just has not reached. And I would love to promote it further. And I think there's a lot of people who would resonate with this record. And so we went to them and at the time, so it was Sony Columbia was the parent label at the time. And I went into them and just kind of said, what can we do? And they said, I think rhetorically to me, unless you can come up with a way to promote the record further that won't cost us any money, we have to move on.
Right.
And so I thought about that though, and came back to them a couple weeks later with the idea to let me give the record away for free online for 3 months, but not only for free, but for information, for an email, for a zip code. So we could figure out where the people are who downloaded it and have it and own a relationship with them to be able to directly connect with them. And
which is actually exactly when
when I discovered you and became a fan of you was somewhere in that campaign of Mockingbird. Of
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
like, because it was like not at the time. It was like super surprising, right? Like now
Right.
people are kind
So
of
yeah,
used to
because this was
music.
2006. It was pre Radiohead, pre Prince, pre Nine Inch Nails. Like nobody had really done it. I mean, it was crazy. Like nobody, no big artist had done it. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not a big artist. I had nothing to lose to do it. So I managed to convince Sony to let me do it. Because my pitch to them was the people who download it for free during those 3 months, and they hate it and they delete it. Well, that's a zero opportunity cost for us because we never would have gotten their money. There's no loss on those people because they're not my fans. I'm not looking to get money from people who aren't my fans. I'm looking to build my tribe. I'm looking for people who will come with me and support me and buy the next record and the next record. And I'm looking
Yeah.
to build a career, not just cash grab. So the people who download it and hate it, delete it, zero cost on them. The people who have not bought it, who have not found it, for all the money we've spent to try to find them, who only find it or are only willing to give it a chance because it's free, well then these are people we wouldn't have gotten. There's no other way to reach these people. Like if it hadn't been free, there's no way we could have found them. So those are found fans, found money. And so and we've got, I had two previous records we could sell once we found a bunch of new fans. I'm going to have future records and tours and every other different way. I mean, there's a lot of different ways to make data make money. So we somehow convinced Sony to let me do this. And I had maybe 4,000 or 5,000 people on an email list at the time, which is not nothing, but it's not a ton. We started with them. We said, hey, you guys have the record. Please take this opportunity to tell your friends about it. Get your friends to download it. You can never presume that your fans' friends are your fans.
Right.
That your fans have told their friends about you. But that's your most likely next layer of fans because otherwise they wouldn't be friends with each other if they didn't like similar stuff. So
Sure.
so we told them, please, download another copy for yourself. If they bought it in the retail, I got their money, but it was anonymous pennies coming in through iTunes and physical retail. I'd rather get their data. It's much more valuable to me. So go download it again if you want. Tell your friends. I reached out to some bands and artists who had bigger tribes than me and asked them to help us spread the word about it. So we did all that, and then we gave it away for 3 months. And in 3 months' time, managed to give away like 85 or 90,000
Wow.
digital copies of the record. So it was a huge success in
Yeah.
terms of our having done it. But that wasn't really where Noise Trade was born because at that point, all we'd really managed to do was give away 90,000 copies of something that we could have gotten $10 a piece for. Right. So we only managed to lose around $1 million at that point. Technically. So we were anxious to find out if the data was really had value because I was convinced that it did. So the first thing we did, so here's where Noise Trade was born. The first thing we did was we took the data, we filtered it by zip code because I'm thinking these are all new fans. This is 3 or 4 times what I've ever sold of a record. So these are new people. So who are they? Where are they? So I got it into Excel, I filtered it by zip code, and I discovered something really fascinating, and that was that in the 5 cities where I had given away the most downloads during those 3 months, 2 of those cities I'd never played a show in as a solo artist, which were Los Angeles and New York. I've never played shows in those 2 cities. But here they are. Those 2 cities were in the top 5 most downloaded cities, during those 3 months. So I've got a ton of fans in those cities. So the data doesn't lie. I thought, because those are really super competitive markets, Los
Mm-hmm.
Angeles, New York, especially for a guy like me. I'm like a niche folk singer. Like I don't have any business going to markets like that. But there's the data. So I got my booking agent and I said, I want you to book me any show on any night in any venue for any pay in Los Angeles. I'll take anything because we're going to test this.
Mm-hmm.
And so they came back to me and they got me a Wednesday night, worst night possible to play music, Wednesday night at the Knitting Factory on Hollywood Boulevard for zero guarantee, zero money, but 90% of the door. So if people show up, I'll make money. If they don't, then it's on me.
Yeah.
The Knitting Factory has 3 rooms. They've got their little downstairs bar, which is barely even a venue. That's where I was going to play. About 100 people fit in there. And then they've got their 350 or 400 seat room, and they've got their big multi-thousand seat room. And so they've got these 3 rooms, and it's a really cool venue. So they got me the downstairs bar. I took it. So 2 weeks before the show, filtered by zip code, the people within 20 miles of that venue, we email them. the people who download a record, within 20 miles of that zip code, we email those people and say, hey, thanks for downloading the record. We hope you love it. In 2 weeks, I'm going to be in your town. Please come out, $10 at the door. And then 2 days before the show, we hit them again. Hey, just a reminder, please come out. We hope you love the record. These people never paid me a dime.
Right.
And now we're giving them the opportunity to, convert, so to speak, to come out, see if we can activate these people. So no idea what was going to happen. Showed up day of the show. I'm walking down Hollywood Boulevard with my buddy, walking up to the venue. And so again, they've got these 3 rooms, and a lot of really cool artists play in the big room. Like that's a pretty legit. So as we're walking up, there's a line clear down Hollywood Boulevard of people lined up to get into the Knitting Factory. So we walk up to the place, and I'm thinking, I say to my buddy, like, I wonder who's playing the big room tonight. Maybe after my show, we could sneak in and see that show.
Yeah.
Well, it turns out all those people were there to see my show.
Wow.
And so we sold out the room at 100, and we turned away like 200 who couldn't get in. I played the show for the 100 people who got in. I went out on the sidewalk and played a second show for the 200 who didn't. The Knitting Factory is looking at me like, who the hell are you? Like, are you famous in Japan or something? Like, who are you? And I said, I'm nobody, and that's why this is significant that we pulled this off. Because if I can do this, anybody can do this. We did this with data. We did this with information.
Right.
Like, this wasn't a fluke. Like, I can tell you how we did it. And if I can do that here, I can do that in the 20 other cities that were the top, because I think there was 2,200 people within 20 miles of downtown LA had downloaded that record.
Right.
And then I went to New York, did exactly the same thing at the bitter end, sold it out, turned people away. Who the hell are you? I mean, it was exactly the same thing that happened.
Yeah.
And it changed my career. And at that point, on the other side of that experiment, I started making more money giving the records away for free than I had made selling the records the old way. I was making more money. Because money is a commodity. Like, you get it, you spend it, it's gone. There was no evidence it was ever there. There's no long-term asset to having had money.
Right.
You get it, you spend it, it's gone. Data is like having seeds to a money tree. It's like money is a finite resource. You have it, it's gone, it's gone. There's no long-term asset. Data is you can repeat. Like, I can go back to these people over and over. The data is more valuable than money, much more valuable. And so for me, it just something clicked, and I thought, man, I've got so many friends here in Nashville at very least who I know for a fact would be more than willing to give away a little bit of free music in exchange for information with which they can make a living. I know they would do it.
Yeah.
But almost 10 years ago, they wouldn't have thought of it, and they couldn't have afforded it. It cost a lot of money to give away 90,000 records in 2006.
Sure.
Amazon and things like that, it's not as expensive now. But
yeah.
So it took us 2 years, me and some buddies, to kind of come up with, to basically come up with Noise Trade and get it up off the ground, get it to market. We bootstrapped it, paid for it ourselves. We're still bootstrapped. We've never taken any funding. We still own it free and clear. And, so we launched it 2 years later in 2008 with a dozen records. And now here in 2015, we've got about 35,000 artists on the site giving music away. We give away somewhere between 300,000 and 500,000 full albums a month.
Wow.
And about a year ago, we moved vertically over into book publishing. So Noise Trade Books for ebooks, for audiobooks. It's our same model, but for authors and publishers.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where we are. That's where we are now. And yeah, so now my full-time job is the president. I mean, I run the company now. So I do still play music, but I'm kind of taking a couple of years off. I've done it for 22 years. I can take a few years off.
Right.
To focus on the business.
On the project. Yeah.
That's kind of brings us, that's kind of up to speed.
Okay. Well, I think that's really cool, and I think it's interesting to hear how that transition happened for you. I mean, I've kind of heard bits and pieces from different interviews and stuff over the years, but I think it's just interesting how that comes out of a genuine, artist trying to solve a problem, because every artist has the same basic problems, right? And they shift over the years, but so I think now with the advent of Noise Trade and other people who other companies who have similar options of giving away music and that sort of thing, now I think the new challenge is finding ways to, because everyone's, like I said, when I first got an email from whoever that told me about your free record, or saw an ad or whatever
Yeah.
however I came across it. Um, it was like, what, that's a free, I don't
Hmm.
even understand.
Right, right.
So then of course I was more than willing to email that. I think there was a thing where you're supposed to email it to 5 of your friends or something, right?
Yeah, the
Is
way we
that
did it when I gave my record away, and that would fly 10 years ago, but it wouldn't fly today. I mean,
yeah,
essentially, we were asking people to give their email and their zip code, and then just to invite 5 friends to download it. And we didn't get any of their friends' information. That they
right,
could just write a little personalized note, "Hey, come check this out." We were just asking them to recommend it, to promote it for us.
sure, yeah,
So yeah, so that's one of the ways that it was just immediately viral off the spot, because in order to get it, you had to tell 5 people about it. And
totally.
so yeah, so that's kind of how we ran my thing.
Okay.
Um,
So then that happens, and now I think there's so many options that it's people are less obviously like mind blown. So I think the new challenge
sure.
becomes for artists. All right, so we put up and I think Noise Trade has done a great job of this. I actually just wrote a blog like 3 days ago saying, "Hey, I think Noise Trade is the best at this." But I think the new challenge is, okay, so there's all these people, there's all this free music. How do you get that heard and spotlighted and get some ears on it? Because like you say, people are, you're fairly accustomed. I'm not. Now it's like at that time, it's an easy thing to like, yeah, of course I'll email this to 5 of my friends. Now it's like, I might click that button. I don't
Yeah,
know. What do you
sure.
really have to offer? So
Hmm.
where do you see that challenge going? Do you guys? I mean, obviously that's a question you guys are asking, I would assume.
Yeah, I mean, um, yeah, I mean, we're always looking at the market. We're always wanting to become our competitor before our competitor exists. The one who could anybody who could do what we do better than we do it, we want to become them, before they appear. And we definitely think a lot about this. I mean, to me, the one way that we've tried to get around it is just to make the process almost transactionless.
Mm-hmm.
Because if anybody goes and downloads any music from Noise Trade at this point, it's like you're done before you even realize you've started. I mean, it's so easy.
Mm-hmm.
Like it used to be just a couple of clicks. Now, like about whatever it's been, about 6 months ago or 5 months ago, we rolled out our fan accounts, which really we should have had the day we launched, but we're bootstrapped, so it takes us time to get this stuff done. But where now, either through Facebook or directly with us, you can sign up, and it's like uh, you kind of just stay logged into the site, and then rather than having to like click and put an email and a zip code and verify through an email, whatever the whole thing, you
Mm-hmm.
literally just click, you confirm, and you're downloading music. You click confirm, and you're reading a book. You click, you confirm, and it's it's so easy that we're always drilling down and trying to figure out what's the least most valuable information that we can get in order to drive as many people through as possible, extract the least most valuable information for content creators,
Hmm.
um, in order that we can just funnel as many people as possible through our platform and pass the maximum amount of data back to artists with which they can kind of run their businesses. And so, that's one thing. And then also you have to compete. Your product has to compete in the market. Like obviously we have seen the writing on the wall for a while with the market has clearly spoken at this point in terms of its preference to access over ownership and streaming versus downloading. I mean whether uh, it's a good spirited debate to talk about who's doing what, who's trying what's equitable, what's fair, what's not. Those are good debates to have. It's good to talk about all the different platforms and companies that are trying things in that space. But clearly, the market has spoken that the majority of people who are engaging with music at this point prefer to just have access to that music. They prefer that over owning it. So we are certainly we have certainly put a lot of thought into that. We feel like we have a very competitive edge in that space, and we're moving as aggressively as we can to get in there and be a meaningful part of that conversation.
Yeah.
We think we can definitely compete in there, and in fact, we think we have a unique solution that really we may be the only company we can see that could provide the particular solution that we can. So, so a lot of it is you have to not break rule number one, which is be great. Like you have to continue to provide great products, continue to do a really good job uh, engaging and delighting the people who use your platform, both the artists, authors, publishers, labels, and the fans.
Right.
We have to continue to provide a great process, a great experience, great products. So, I mean, we're working really hard on that for sure. So, at the end of the day, that's how you win. I mean, like, you can be as clever as you want to be, but at the end of the day, if you're not providing a great, relevant, simple, clean product to people that they love using, that gets them exactly what they want, I mean, that's where you compete. So, that's mostly where we're trying to,
Yeah.
yeah, that's where we focus. I
Well, I
mean,
can see that. I mean, does it seem to you, I guess, I mean, you've brought up the whole tribe concept a couple times, both with your artistry career especially, but is it, do you find that like the high percentage of people at a given point become like noise trade people, like as far as fans and artists, or is it mostly a another tool in their palette, and okay, that's cool, but or do
mm-hmm.
you find that there's a lot of people who are kind of like, you know what, I love noise trade, I love what they do, I love the music they feature,
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna
I
run
think
with
we have a
this.
lot of both. I mean, we have a lot of folks coming in and out every month, and I think that there are both on the fan and reader side and on the artist and author side. I think we have a lot of people who, I mean, we've worked really hard to curate, for instance, our weekly emails that we send out featuring artists, featuring authors. We work really hard on that stuff. We take that really seriously, and I think that we've built up a level of trust with our tribe to where we tell them to download something, and even if they've never heard of it, they will, because they trust us that what we typically curate and feature is really cool stuff. So that's a huge part of our business. That's a huge part of the personality of our platform. And so I think there are people who just are kind of noise trades tribe and have to, like the average noise trade user has or fan has downloaded more than a dozen records from us. Like we have a lot of people who just come in and, I mean, all the music's free. Why would you not come in and grab dozens and dozens of records and books? Why not? They're free. So like the risk is pretty low
Mm-hmm.
in terms of engagement. So, and then we have artists for whom we've been a big part of their story. We have artists who use us in every single marketing campaign. Every time they put a record out, we are just a default line item in their marketing plan every time. We have labels we've worked with for years, and every artist they put out, every marketing plan they draw up, we are a line item on every single one. There's always some
Right.
strategy of some layer of free content that they're sourcing new fans to then kind of pack into their tribe to go out and find ways to give opportunities for those people to support and pay them. And so I think that's true, but I'd like to think that the majority of the people using, at least on the artist and author side, who are using our platform, see us as one tool in an ecosystem of solutions that they have put together. Because that's kind of the thing about the new business, is there isn't just one clear path. I mean, there are a lot of tools, most of them free, that you can use,
Mm-hmm.
and you can kind of put it together. I mean, you're not reinventing the wheel every single time, but you're definitely disassembling a wheel and putting it back together a new way every time. And so
Yeah.
we might be just the right piece of a strategy that has two or three other pieces to it for this record, but maybe not so much for your next record. But then maybe the next record or side project is the thing I mean, so I like to think of us as one tool of many that makes a lot of sense as part of a strategy. I mean, it's kind of the rare case even that an artist will come to us and want to distribute a brand new record on retail release day, want to just put it out with us for free from the get go, and we're just the only distribution channel for it. I mean, I'm always pleased if somebody wants to do that, but I see us as more useful as part of a bigger strategy. Like, come and put your new single and some exclusive live stuff up 6 weeks before, 4 weeks before your retail or tribal release date. to get a lot of new data in the door, gets like maybe that's your first splash into the market, get some exclusive content out there, incentivize people to give you their some data with which you can then, like cast the net as wide as you can and convert some percentage of those people to supporting you at some point, like, and then have the full record come out 6 months after the record is done and your people have bought it and it's not selling anymore. Now that's your best piece of marketing. Put the full record up on Noise Trade 6 months later to start as an investment into your next
Yeah.
release you have next year. Like I see it more as part of, and I have used it as more of a part of a strategy. I think that people have used it every different way. So I don't think there's a majority of people doing it one way or the other. But I can say that there are a lot of people a lot of music fans, a lot of readers who do put a lot of trust in us in terms of our being a discovery platform for them. And that's something we definitely take really seriously. And it's a huge advantage that we have over other platforms that only provide tech solutions.
Right.
Who are only providing technology solutions for distributing content and customer acquisition and things like that. That's true, but we also have this giant megaphone by which we can really help move the needle for you in terms of helping you do that. Like, we don't just provide the bookshelf. We can also really, or the record shelf, we can also really help get the record and the books off. We can help on both fronts. So,
Yeah. Okay. That's really, I like that. I mean, I work with, I guess I didn't really fully introduce you as to what I do, but I manage a couple artists, both of whom have heavily used the Noise Trade system. And it has been exactly that. And I love how you guys feature the charts of the top download and a few featured albums and that sort of thing. And I've seen a lot of artists that I've personally got into because I've seen, because it feels like, so do you guys have intentionally set up, I'm just always interested in the new systems of curation, both with Noise Trade and with everything else, because I think and I'd love to hear your perspective on this, but as it's become easier and easier to access music and easier to record music and easier and easier.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the distro problem is solved, really, right?
Yeah.
Like there's no reason why, if you can't find a way to get your record out to people, then
Right.
I don't just pay someone $40 and do it. It's not hard.
Yeah.
So then I think the next layer of where things go, both with, music and books already, but then soon I think film and video increasingly, because now bandwidth was the basic issue, right? So it becomes curation, because if I can see a new album by 2,000 artists a day, or eventually, a new film by 3,000 filmmakers a day, because that's the content that goes out. I think the curators become in the positions of power, because I don't have time to sort through 2,000 albums a day. Obviously,
Right.
like no one has that. So how does that? How do you feel like that plays into both Noise Trade and also, film and TV? I know you guys have done a couple highlight things. One of our artists, Luke Dowler, was actually just on the HGTV
Right.
sampler,
Yeah. Right.
and stuff like that. So how do you, how do you feel like all that moves forward, and what's your guys' place in that?
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. So it's a lot of people have said that, in the old music business, scarcity was the problem because there were just so few records that had access to the market. Like there was kind of no way. There was such a narrow path into the market that very few records got out there. So the market would say to the public, here are 10 records, pick the one you like the most. And now it's, here are 10 million albums, try to find one, that you like. So because now it's ubiquity is the enemy. It's like there's so much out there. And so for me, I think it's a few things. We definitely take that curation role really seriously, and we actually do it, like the way we do it is we've got our very small team. We just watch everything that comes through the site, and we pay a lot of attention and we have really great relationships with both independent and major labels. And so we're kind of aware of what's up and coming all the time. We're just aware of what's coming in, both stuff that's
Right.
coming directly to us and stuff that is coming through label systems, independent label systems. We're just aware of a lot of it. We have people telling us about it. So we're able to do kind of one wave, one pass of curation to say, man, here's a couple of really killer bands that we just I think we've done a good job of finding people who have great taste. Like the people on our team just know great music. They just know great stuff, and that's been proven out in the response of Noise Trade's audience, which is 1.5 million people twice a week we talk to on our email list.
Wow.
And so they respond. Like when my people say we think this is great, we think we should get behind this. We think this is going to be a big record. This artist is coming out of nowhere and they're amazing. Like that is proven out. Like our people respond, and so that is definitely, like I said, a huge responsibility that we take seriously. It's a huge advantage we have over other platforms that kind of are in our space. Nobody's directly in our space, but there are definitely people who have tools that kind of blur over into kind of our business, and but none of them are able to really do it the way we can because we have this huge audience who does trust us, and we do play this additional layer as a filter and as a curator. But I think beyond that, I think that like we tend to try to. I think one of the antidotes to the huge noise in the market that's really hard to kind of rise up out of and be noticed, and it is, I think a lot of people's instinct is to just try to hit the ball as hard as you can for the very back fence and make a big a splash as you can. I tend to think that the solution is the opposite. I think it's to actually drill down and be great and focus smaller. Actually, because you need fewer hardcore fans to make a great living now than you ever have in history. Like you can make a great living on the back of 1,000 really true fans. People like you look at Amanda Palmer is just such a great example of some of this sort of thing. And obviously hers is up on a certain scale, but it does scale down. Like her Kickstarter she did a few years ago that broke every record for music Kickstarters. I think she raised 1 million plus, 2 million, I forget, and she is an unbelievable. But what's remarkable is how few people funded that seven figure figure number. It was like 1,000 or two people did all that. And now with her on Patreon over at Jack Conte's place, she has around the same number of people who have now pledged to pay her nearly 30 grand every time she releases a thing. Every time she makes something and releases it through Patreon, she's going to get paid 30 grand a pop to do that.
Yeah, which is incredible.
It's a great platform. She's really smart. But the point of it is, it doesn't require a huge thousands and thousands and thousands and tens and hundreds of thousands of fans to make a living. Like you only need to focus on your hardcore tribe of people who will very deeply support you to make your living. If your ego can bear not being a household name and not making $1 million a year, you can actually have a great, robust, blue collar living in music. And that's kind of the good news. There's never been a better time to be an independent artist. So I tend to try to encourage artists to focus small, like focus in and meaningfully connect with the people who love and resonate with what you do so deeply that they will support you, that you don't even have to try to get them to give you their money. They can't wait to give you their money. They'll give you more than you ask for. You don't need but a small group of those kind of fans to make an incredible living at this. And that's really what Noise Trade, we're a tribe building platform. We're a customer acquisition platform. Like we help you find that tribe.
Right.
And so like that's part of, curation's huge, but it also is kind of incumbent on the bands, on the artists, on the authors to do a good job of identifying, resonating with, and deeply connecting with your tribe, supported by data, owning those relationships. Don't let Amazon own the relationships. Don't let iTunes own them. You need to own those relationships. You need to be able to directly own and connect with those people. That's your career. That's your business. Whoever owns those relationships owns your business. Is it you or is it Amazon? Is it you or is it iTunes? Is it you or is it Spotify? Is it you or is it Facebook?
Hmm.
So that's kind of that's our mantra. That's our that and so I think that the curation is important, but again, artist to artist, that's really the strategy. Is like focus small, find those hardcore people, and then build out from there. And you're basically just packing in to that small tribe, and over time, building that bigger and bigger, slowly, slowly, bigger, bigger. That's your whole business. That's your whole career right there.
Yeah. Well, and those are the people who want to share what you're doing anyway, right? And that
Of
will help
course.
grow you, because the people who are marginally interested aren't like, "Oh man, you gotta check out Derek Webb. I'm marginally interested in him. You
Yeah,
need
right.
this
Exactly.
guy in your life."
Yeah, and you want to keep those people on the radar, and you want to try to do a good job of engaging those people and eventually converting them into your tribe. But at the end of the day, labor versus reward, where you really need to be focusing is on those tribe of people who, again, like you don't even need to ask. Like that's your marketing team. Like those are your evangelists. Those are the people who you don't even have to ask them to tell people about you because they love you. I mean, I am that kind of fan for a handful of bands,
Yeah.
and they can count on me. They can count on my money. They can count on my voice, like to talk about them. They can, and if they even do a decent job engaging me and making me feel special, parsing me out of that mass of people who are following them. Uh, and offering me opportunities to tell both myself and them the story of what a big fan I am,
Hmm.
which includes giving me the option to not just give them $5 for immediate download, but $65 for the vinyl and the documentary and the access backstage and the what. Then like that's where they make their living, and that's where I'm satisfied to be able to tell my story of what a big fan I am of that band. And every artist has those. There are fans for everybody out there now. There
Hmm.
are like there have never been more people engaging with, loving music. Music's never been a bigger part of culture than it is now. The money's definitely shifting around and moving. It's not coming in all the traditional ways, but it is there. So it's just a matter of finding and meaningfully connecting with all those fans.
Yeah, well, because like you said, I mean, there's never been a better time to be a middle class artist, and I agree with that. And I think at the same time, there's never been as good of a time to be a middle class fan, I suppose, where you can just
Right.
like you say, it's like it's not like, well, there's one
To
band
find
that I
your
follow
fan.
has a fan club. Yeah, it's like everyone has all these different layers, and I can get involved and briefly talked about Patreon there, but that's great to me. It's like, hey, I'm willing to pay you X amount anytime you do something because I love you,
I
and then
trust you. I support you.
yeah, and you're going to give me something back, and that's great, and there's
Right.
so much
Yeah,
more
and
of
I
a
feel like I'm
relationship.
playing a direct role in supporting you and in facilitating your career. And because like the thing you have to remember, just in terms of the way the market is changing and evolving still, is the idea of art being commoditized and mass produced and sold is a very recent invention,
Hmm.
super recent. In the last 100 or so years, is this been the case? But the vast majority of all the great art that's ever been made, the vast majority, has been made under the patronage model. Actually,
Yeah.
it's been paid for by institutions, governments, have basically subsidized the making of this art, paid blue collar wages to artists to spend their life making stuff.
Hmm.
That stuff is typically owned by the institutions, but given to the public, held in the public trust or by the institutions, but for public consumption. Think of the ceilings of cathedrals. Think of like this is that is the model where that has worked. That is made for great art. It's as opposed to been a machine to build celebrities. It's been a very good model, and
For
that's why I
centuries and
really
centuries. Yeah.
yeah, I mean the vast majority of all the best art that's ever been made has not been made in the commercial commodity model, which is the one that we're in now. This is not a great like where artists and labels and publishers and authors have to think about what's going to sell, how's it going to hit the market, how do I build in hooks to promote it and sell it and market it. Like it doesn't make for great art.
No.
It makes for decent sales and maybe good business strategy, but that's why I really like the evolution of I like watching the market splinter and iterate and change and develop. And that's why I really love what Jack is doing at Patreon, and much better than I like the Kickstarter model for musicians.
Right.
That concerns me a lot. That model for musicians concerns me a lot. But I love the patronage model, and I think that is proven. I mean, that's so I don't know. I think it's fun to watch like the market respond, entrepreneurs and artists get creative about solutions, solve their own problems the way that Jack did, the way that we did at Noise Trade, the way that my friends at Close Up and Fanswell have solved their problems in terms of booking house shows and touring and disruptive ideas there. And there's a lot of people. I mean, it's great. That's another great result of the disruption in our market is it's made entrepreneurs out of artists.
Right.
Because as they solve their own problems, as they are their own customers, they are finding solutions, and some are able to then bring those solutions to market and provide those solutions to other artists. And it's a really exciting time. It's like the Wild West. It's great,
Oh, totally. Well, and I think, it is I think it's great that, the more of these pop up, the less the recording industry can claim, oh, everything's terrible for music and for art, and it's all, when really, it's like you say, it's like sometime in the 50s where they started taking on shareholders to record companies is the only time that existed. And so it's like it's got this tiny life cycle. It's like, so it's difficult for me as a fan of the arts and a fan of music to mourn it so much when it's a 70-year bubble. And it's like, well,
right.
Okay.
Well, and it's a cycle that every industry of every kind goes through. And the music business just, we're dramatic, we're artists. And so we think we're the only ones who've ever gone through it.
Right.
And we think that it's like the meteor hitting the earth. It's like, no, this is a cycle. It's like something organic happens, and then and then it starts to repeat itself. It gets institutionalized, and then it gets inefficient, and little opportunities and gaps appear. People come in and kind of seize those, disrupt it. It dismantles. And then from that rubble, something organic happens. It gets institutionalized. I mean, it's the cycle of business disruption has been with us since the beginning of time. This is just the first. If you look back at a big enough piece of the arc, you realize we've been like this. This is a cycle. It's just the first time it's that we've gone through it in the music business. But every other industry in the world has gone through it, and many of them multiple times, and they understand it as part of their business. And a great part of their business. I think we're going to hit the next wave of it a lot sooner because of how it's accelerated the business. I think that I think it could happen in just a few years. I think that another big disruption could happen. It's already starting to form again. So I don't know. I mean, I think and I think that's important to remember. Like, the world is not over. It's not like, oh, that was fun and now it's all over. No, it's just changing. It's evolving. It's disrupted. It's ultimately going to be the best thing for the business. It's how we'll ultimately survive. Something has to die to be resurrected. That's just how things work.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's interesting.
Yeah. Cool. Awesome. Well, thanks so much for your time, Derek. I really appreciate it. And
pleasure.
Great to chat a bit.
Yeah, you too.
All right.